Good day, everyone, and welcome to the best ever investment property advice from the Real Estate Pros. I'm your host, Trevor Henson, here with today's professional real estate investor, mystical, magical Steve Zahn. Welcome, Steve. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great. How are you today, Trevor?
Fantastic. Sun's shining. I'm 6 feet above ground, sir, so can't complain.
I agree, and I'm excited about doing this interview, and hopefully I can give some good input to our future investors in real estate.
Tell us a little bit of background, Steve. How did you get into, I know you're primarily focused on commercial real estate. How did you get involved with commercial real estate? And tell us a little bit about what commercial real estate is to you.
Yeah, so basically I got started in commercial real estate through my uncle. I was in high school, and he said, there's plenty of time to date women and girls and save your money and invest in real estate. So because of good advice, I worked really hard, saved up my money, and I actually bought my first house. And after I bought my first house, then I went ahead and bought a couple other houses. And then I started buying apartment buildings. And that's why I try to build my portfolio.
Tell us a little more about that first house. We've had several investors on our show that have started with a single house. Now, did you live in that? Did you rent it out, live in it first and then rent it out? Or if someone was just trying to get into real estate, how would that happen?
Yeah, so I actually bought it for myself to live in. And I lived in it for about a year or so, and I got it all fixed up and remodeled it. Then I sold it, and then I actually started buying triplexes. And from there, I got into, had some good advice from my uncle, and he said, hey, start buying apartments, retail centers, any fixer-uppers, so you can turn them around and take them from like a C property to a B plus or an A property and increase your income.
Which leads me to my next question, which I believe you've answered. So what was your first deal? Was it what did it look like? Where was it? What did it look like, smell like? How much was it? What did you sell?
My first house.
What did you sell for?
So my first house was my first house was small. It was a little, like probably 800 square feet to 1,000, somewhere in there in Torrance. And it was actually a true starter home. But when I bought it low, and I actually sold it and made good money on it. So that was like, wow, this is easy.
And this was in high school?
This was in high school, yes.
Awesome. So then your career has been how long now in real estate?
I've been in real estate for over 40 years.
Wow, 40 years, wow.
I started in my 20s, and I'm over 40 years.
That's awesome. And so what of those 40 years, Steve, what was your most significant deal for you personally?
I bought a retail center that had different buildings in there, commercial actually. And I had some famous people in there actually. It was really cool. I had Don Dokken. These are rockers. Don Dokken, Great White, Pennywise, Guns N' Roses. And they had, Dokken had a studio there. So I had bought that. And then at that time, I was working for another real estate company, and then I kind of got with Robert Abbasi, and then we sold that.
Who's been a guest on our show?
Guest on your show, and I hooked up with Robert, and we sold that property, and from there we started buying apartments and retail centers and etc.
Where was your first this most significant? That sounds like an awesome deal. Assuming the tenants were not rock starring the place for you. Was it is it in Hollywood? Was it in Los Angeles? Or was it
Redondo Beach, prime Redondo Beach?
No kidding.
Yes, and I was one of the only true commercial industrial centers in the area, and it had I had a door shop in there. I had detail shop, a fireplace supply, and then I had all these bands in there that happened just wanted to rent for the recording studio. So it was really cool.
Oh, that's awesome. And did you get to see these guys play in studio?
Oh, yeah. We went over. My kids, in fact, grew up listening to their music, and they invited them in, and we got to listen to them record. It was really, really a great experience, and for me too. But my kids really enjoyed it, and it kept them busy after school. They go back in the back and hang out, and it's like instant babysitter. So that's good.
Go watch the band.
Yeah, exactly.
That is a great story, Steve. Thank you. And so today, over your 40 years, as we've been talking about on our show, that sometimes there's a buy and hold strategy, sometimes there's a fix and flip, sometimes there's like a 5-year hold on a development deal where so properties come and go. Money has to circulate, obviously. What does your portfolio look like today? How much? What do you own, and what's the type?
My strategy is to try to buy at a good price, fix up the units, and then hold them for long term. I have very rarely sold any of my investments that I bought because they've been really good, and it's hard to sell them and get a replacement value because the way the market is right now. Doing exchanges is difficult. Cap rates are high, and my strategy, along with Robert Abbasi, who taught me this, is we fix them up, keep them for long term, and let them just cash flow, and that's what we do. And then we refinance them to pull money out to buy more stuff.
I see. And is it like a equity cash out?
Yes. Yeah, and it's tax-free money, which is really good.
That's true. And how many? What's your portfolio size, square footage wise? I guess if we're talking, or what is it?
Oh God,
how many buildings?
How many buildings? Let's see. Retail apartments, I have probably over like 40 units, and then retail commercial centers probably have a couple 100,000 square feet.
Wow.
Yeah, and so it's pretty good.
It's significant, right?
Thanks.
In case everyone watching didn't think you were dealing with a real estate pro here, that is making it, ladies and gentlemen. And so, of your multifamily and your retail and your office, what do you feel like has been the most profitable? What space have you liked the most?
Well, the apartments have been very good. Once you get them seasoned, they're very good. Of course, with apartments, there's more rules and regulations. And I got into buying retail centers and industrial centers because they can be just as profitable, sometimes more, and there's less rules and regulations.
You're so knowledgeable on these rules that for someone who is watching and has no idea what we're talking about right now, what are a couple of significant differences from the rules and regs that are different between commercial and multifamily?
The apartment buildings and multifamily, the rules and regulations, there's rent control issues, there's eviction laws now, you have to do a lot of seismic stuff to the buildings, and just a lot of other rules and regulations that they make you do. But the biggest thing is with the COVID hitting, getting people out of there under evictions, collecting rent collections, it's a lot of challenging, and then just trying to just get the rents and stuff. So it's more challenging in apartments because of all the stuff that's happened due to COVID, actually, and everything's blamed on COVID, it seems like. So it just made it really difficult for apartment owners to get a profit out of their apartments right now for a lot of reasons. And on the commercial side, there's less rules and regulations, like I said. You don't have to worry about, we had an issue of collecting rents, all the other rules and regulations that apply. They didn't apply to retail commercial.
Like for one of the ones that is fair housing, correct?
Yeah, you have to do with fair housing at all. There's no fair housing issues at all. Whereas apartments, you have to dot your I's and cross your T's. You do one thing wrong, you can get sued for not following these fair housing issues. A retail commercial is basically, there's no fair housing involved at all because the tenant's renting the space and they sign a long-term lease, which makes it nice. And it's just so much easier and simpler. I love retail, commercial, industrial centers. That's my passion.
Yeah, I can tell you could keep talking to you, you could convert me because I'm totally multifamily. I'm over here. I haven't dipped a toe into the retail commercial, but it's on the list, right? What advice would you give? You've had obviously mentors, so many mentors over the years. Now you've reached, whether you know it or not, mentor status to anybody watching who doesn't own any kind of property. So what advice would you give to a real estate investor or a potential syndicator or someone who wants to get into the property management space on their own? Not just be a passive investor, but just to actually do what you're doing to start buying, creating value and selling it good. What would be your advice to how would they start? How should they start?
So my advice is to hook up with a good broker that and that could be Beachfront Property Management, myself or Robert, or I'm sure Kyle, and try to look for the best possible deal that you could find, and go after retail commercial centers because, like I mentioned, they're so much easier to manage, and you have less headaches and less tenant issues. And that, like I said, that's my passion, and I would advise them because of the way the apartments are right now. You're going to pay more money for them; they're overpriced, and then when you sell them, you're trying to find an exchange. Much more difficult now, and a lot of people, have left California, went out of state to invest, and I've done the same thing. and I made some good investments out of state. So if you in that situation where you do sell something and you need to exchange it and you can't find something in California because prices are so high, I recommend them to start looking out of state. Texas has been well, Oklahoma, Arkansas. Those are my favorite ones to go after and look for investments.
Would you advise someone coming in now to buy in this market right now, commercial? It seems like commercial's a little stalled, at least from my view.
Yeah, it has. It's everyone's kind of been buying
retail office space.
Yeah. Retail actually has been kind of buying it. There's nothing out there. You can't even find an industrial complex to buy now. Retail centers, they're really hard to buy, and if you do find them, they're really overpriced. That's why I would look out of state. But even out of state,
despite the vacancies that we see everywhere, there's so much office space available that nobody's selling it.
Exactly. Yeah, a lot of them, if they bought it in a while, they held it for a while, they're going to have less debt on it, so they can afford to have those vacancies to, offset their debt ratio.
And that's why you see them sitting vacant longer than apartment buildings, for sure.
Exactly. Yeah, this retail commercial has slowed down a little bit now for that reason, and the big reason is because COVID hit. People wanted to work from home, so. Right. So now it's coming back gradually, and we've had several vacancies now, and I'm starting to rent them out. People are getting back to I'm tired of being at home, having to deal with the kids, the wife, and I want to get back into my office. So, and that's the comments I'm getting from when people call me, but it's starting to pick up a little bit, and yeah. And like I said, that's to me, that's the way to go.
You're on the front lines of this, right, Steve? Like you're actually visiting properties, dealing with clients.
Oh yes, I love dealing with client communication. Is so important, and that's one of my things I specialize in communication. Very important to talk to clients. I go to the properties myself, and I try to go at least once a week to all my properties, for sure every 2 weeks, and assess them, look at them. If I meet prospective new tenants, I meet them out there, show them the property, try to close the deal. Face-to-face contact's very important. I'm not a big fan of Zoom, telephone calls, conference calls. Face-to-face, sometimes you can close the deal better. And sometimes that's hard to do, but I try to push face-to-face meetings as much as I can with my clients, future investors, tenants. It just seems to help close the deal better. And I think I can use my great personality and my good looks to help close the deal.
The mystical, magical Steve Zahn. How does he do it? We're not sure. Maybe that's one of the secrets. So with commercial, let's talk about retail commercial space. Of those, we heard of multifamily challenges with the laws and regulations. So what would you say one of the biggest challenges for office space would be for an owner?
Office space really has been pretty good. Not too many challenges at all. It's they're easier to rent.
More?
Yeah,
would there be more challenges? Let's guide it that way. What would be one of your biggest challenges for retail property?
Yeah, well, so the biggest challenge for retail properties right now that I have is getting the properties ADA compliant. ADA, that's Access Disability Act. So over the years, I've learned this too. A lot of landlords who own retail commercial centers don't realize they have to have ADA compliances for accessibility, ingress, egress. The properties have to have a certain amount of slopes to it for their sidewalks. The biggest thing is parking. A lot of them, you go into them and there's no ADA parking stalls. And so that has to be done. So I know pretty much all the ADA laws for the retail centers having parking stall. You have to have one per 25, make sure they're striped, the sloping, proper signage up. So that's a huge thing now. And there are several lawsuits that have been hit on centers because they're not in compliance, right? And then even back to, and then on the retail centers, the tenants basically are usually responsible for getting their own restroom set up and everything. A lot of times, sometimes the landlord will have to go in there and get them ready initially, but normally it'll fall on the tenant. With office buildings, a lot of the ones that we took over managing in the past, none of them were ADA set up. So I had to go in and redo the restrooms. So that was probably the biggest challenge with the office was same thing. They had ADA issues with parking in the front and the back. Their restrooms weren't set up for ADA. The stalls weren't the same size, towel bars, there's all kinds of things. But my specialty was getting in there and getting them all ADA compliant so there would be nobody getting sued. And now they're starting to sue apartment complexes now more and more. So
tell us who they is.
So there's basically three I call them snake law firms, that they actually hire people to go out and look for ADA stuff. And
Really?
There's three.
Yeah.
There's three that are snakes. And so they go actually hire people. They go out to different centers and they assess the centers, and they'll go into restaurants to look at stuff. And usually the restaurant owner is responsible for their own stuff, but they try to still sue the landlord. But they go after restaurants and they actually look at the parking lot, and they'll go up and down the sidewalk, see if they can get the wheelchair up there okay. They'll look for this proper signage. Are the stalls the proper size? So they look at all that stuff, and now they're getting these three attorneys now, because they make each violation is like $4,000, and some of the cases could be involve thousands of dollars, up to even hundreds of thousands sometimes, depends on the violation. So they now they're hitting apartment buildings now. We've had a couple of apartment buildings that have been for ADA. Yeah, and so I think my specialty is that I've learned a lot of the laws for ADA, and I own apartments, so I have to know the apartment ones too, to make sure my apartments are compliant. And then of course retail commercial, because you want to protect your client from getting sued.
You are the expert on that. I know I've heard you speaking to it, and I guess we should back up a little bit. Tell the audience that Steve is our director of commercial management operations here at Beachfront Property Management. But he's an investor first, and works with Beachfront second, or maybe in tandem, because he's managing his own stuff, your own properties, right? But you also manage a lot more for other people, correct? Hence the third party management.
Exactly. Yes.
Do I understand that?
Yes, I have my own portfolio, and I also have the Beachfront portfolio, and I manage them like I own them. So I make sure that they're running like a tight ship. Get the best values, highest rents, keep the costs down, because you want to make your investor money. So that's the bottom line. It's all about the bottom line.
All about the bottom line. All right. Now it's time for our lightning roundup. I'm going to ask you questions. You answer them as fast as you can, and we will wrap it up. Are you ready, Steve?
Yes, lightning round. I am ready.
What's the best business book you've ever read?
One of my newest ones I read was EOS from Beachfront. I love the book. So it was based upon our system, but
if you were given 24 hours of free time, what would you do with it?
Go fishing. Get on a boat and go out in the ocean and just relax. Fish, smoke some cigars.
Favorite fish?
Yeah, fish. I like fishing. Yeah, swordfish.
What's your favorite?
Salmon. I'd probably go salmon fishing off some spot, but salmon's my number one thing, and then swordfish, and I eat all kinds of fish. So yeah, I like to go fishing and smoke a good cigar and have a good whiskey, as you can see in the background.
Your background Zoom photo.
Yeah.
That's his real office.
Just take one of those bottles and go with it.
What's the best gift you've ever received?
I got a signed Kobe Bryant basketball from one of my friends.
Wow.
He was at an auction and he bid on it, and he got it and he gave it to me. So that's a prized possession, especially since Kobe, awesome. Passed away.
Right.
So it's awesome. Yeah.
That's amazing. Awesome. What's your favorite failure that you, Steve, have made? Like, what's a favorite Steve failure? Like, you learned the most from?
I bid on a property, and I didn't get it, and I had to learn why I didn't get it. So I actually what can I do next time to make sure I bid properly? Did I insult the seller? What did I do wrong not to get that property? So I had to think through this so I could not make that mistake again.
Last question, Steve, and we will let you go. In the last 5 years, what's a new belief or behavior that has most improved your life?
The biggest thing in the last 5 years is my physical well-being. Like I said, my weight's gone up and down like a yo-yo, and now I'm back into a weight loss program. I'm back into physical therapy program because I had some balance issues and for breaking my foot and my back. So now my goal is to focus on getting myself healthy, and that's my biggest challenge right now and my goal.
Prioritizing your health.
Yes, exactly. Which I think is more important. Health support. You don't have any health, you don't have nothing. And that's right. For everybody in general. You have to take time to enjoy yourself. I like my outlet is sports. I'm a big sports guy, and I like to socialize. I like to hang out and party with people, and I enjoy life.
Courtside with everybody famous, yes.
Courtside.
Legendary tickets you have.
yeah.
That's a good end. That's great. That's a positive end to our interview, Steve. Prioritizing health. I mean, all business and everything, joking aside, if we don't have any health, all the money in the world can't help us. What's the point, right? But real estate's not going to save our lives.
There you go.
If we run ourselves into the ground, then it's stay healthy first, and then keep moving with your investment strategies. If you're stuck in a bed somewhere,
just love what you do. You have to have passion for what you do, and I love property management in general. And started with apartments, and then I did apartment stuff, and then I was the director of the apartments. Now I'm retail commercial, so I've done it all. I have all the experience, but you have to have passion for what you do. If you don't, then don't do it. It's been so refreshing having you join the team last year, and thank you for coming on. It's not the Beachfront show, right? It's our investor show. A lot of us that happen to be partners and work in Beachfront, we all eat what we cook, in a sense, right? Yeah, exactly.
All of our properties, my properties are all managed here at Beachfront as well. So it's
right. So the Beachfront team's fantastic. You've been great. Everybody's been really good at working on us aboard when we did our merger like over a year ago. And it's, we've got a little challenges, but we work through all of them, and it's only for the best. And it also benefits our clients too, because we're trying to constantly fine tune and improve.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that concludes, Steve. Thank you. Our interview, Steve. Thank you so much for your time. I know it's valuable. For being on our show. Any parting words for our adoring fans?
Let's make money this year, 2023. Let's have a good year and make money for everybody and stay in good health and go Beachfront.
Go Beachfront. That's right. Signing off with Steve Zahn, Investor Pro of the Day. Thank you, Steve, for your time, and we'll see you guys next time.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me, Trevor.
You're welcome, Steve. Take care.